Hey guys, how are you? So today I'm going to be doing a kind of get ready with me. I'm doing my autumn leaves look and something a little bit different. I'm going to be answering some of the questions which you guys asked me in the poll that I made a couple of days ago. And I'm going to base today's video more on the pro side, like more on my journey, how I started out in makeup, advice for beginners, how to get work in the makeup industry, how to break into the industry, and more about pro jobs and basically how I got my start. I get asked this question a heck of a lot because not only am I a pro makeup artist, but I'm also a creative makeup influencer on Instagram and Facebook. So I'm going to try something new, and I'm going to be investing more into YouTube, and I'm going to be creating videos more regularly, so that you can have a better insight, and I can also give you more information about myself and more tips and techniques. So let's get started. But this is the headdress that I created for today's look. The theme for today's makeup is called Autumn Leaves, and this is a combination of two headdresses actually. I made the one with all of the leaves and all of the orange. This is all me here. And the second piece here is made by a designer called Object at Dawn, and I'm going to put the link to her Instagram. She's an amazing headdress designer, super unique pieces. And I am layering the two up together, and I'm going to be doing a kind of beauty slash prosthetic makeup look for this. I'm also going to be using this wig here, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about where I get my wigs from. What is your real job outside of what you do? That's something I get asked a lot. Okay. So, I did used to have a career before social media. I've been on social media now I've been doing it professionally for 3 years. And I actually transitioned to full-time social media a year and a half ago. My background is actually theatre, specifically opera, ballet, and plays. And I was in that industry for 11 years. And quite honestly, the social media side of things actually came along as like a bit of an accident. And it was a hobby which ballooned into a full-time job. So that is actually what I used to do for a living. Now I do this absolutely full time, and it's amazing. It allows me to be completely creative, and it allows me to a lot of like creative autonomy and freedom. So another question I got asked was, how did you get into makeup? So I have always been a massive fan of makeup. Like, I probably have been wearing makeup since I was 4 years old. I used to raid my mother's makeup bag, and I just basically put it all on. I used to be mesmerized watching her do her face, and it was just like magic to me. And I used to like put all of her makeup on. I used to ruin her compacts and ruin her lipsticks. So what she did was she bought me like a load of kiddies makeup, and I remember like whenever we used to dress us in our Sunday best dresses for church, I used to use that as the opportunity to put all of it on. Right, so for this autumn leaves look, I'm going to use the P. Louise times Mitchell Acid Rain collection, and this one's called Glow Girl. And is, what school did you go to study makeup in? I actually have lived in 5 different countries, and in my kind of later teenage years, I was living in Singapore, Southeast Asia, and I went to this school called United World College, and I did the International Baccalaureate, and it basically sets you up for universities in America and like anywhere overseas in Europe. And after that, after I got my graduated from high school, I did a course. My for my 18th birthday, my grandmother gave me some money, and she said, look, you know, do what you want with this money, with this gift, but make sure that you use it wisely. And I went and I did a makeup course, and I didn't really think that it could actually lead to anything. I just wanted to like learn more about makeup, and it was like a 2-month course, and it was like a little bit of everything. It was like a little bit of fashion, a little bit of theatre, beauty, and they helped to build up a little portfolio. And this for me was just like a little bit of a hobby. And then also while I was at it, I did a course with a company called Dinair in airbrush makeup, because that was something that was like, you know, this must have been like, this was like in the year 2000, I think. So I went into that, and then I was always had my heart set on going to art school. I actually originally wanted to be like a fine artist, a painter, and I got this unconditional offer to Central St. Martin's to do a foundation course, and I went and did that. And it was basically a year of sampling all different kinds of art. I did everything from like ceramics, like graphic design, to like textiles. And I really wasn't sure what I was going to go into, because I knew that it wasn't probably going to be fine art, because I just thought I guess I just wanted to, I wanted something vocational that, you know, listening to my dad's words, you know, that was actually going to earn me, you know, some money. And that wasn't like, I felt like the art world was very much like, how do you even break into, like, I had no idea how I was going to get into that, so it was too much of a risk. So whilst I was at St. Martin's, there was this like open day university. Now, what it's called now is University UAL, University of the Arts London. And whilst I was there, there was this open day for London College of Fashion, for this course called. It used to then be called. It used to then be called costume, wigs, and makeup for performing arts, and it was a BA, it was a degree, so it was three years long, and it was an academic course as well as a design course as well as a hands-on course. And I went to that, and it opened my eyes, and straight away I knew exactly where I was supposed to be, because I always had a love for theatre. When I was a kid growing up, I did ballet, and I knew instantly that that was the course for me, that was the degree for me. So I applied for that and took a portfolio of all of my artwork that I created in the first year of my foundation course. And a lot of it was faces, a lot of it was painting and drawing different, like, basically makeup designs. And they gave me a place, and I did 3 years at London College of Fashion. Um, it was very, very academic. There was lots of like essay writing, and there's lots of design work. So the format was they would give you a text to read. So you might get like Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, and then you would have to like choose a character from that, and then do like a mood board, and then like get your inspirations, then do a drawing, and then you have to like create what it is you draw. And this kind of helped set me up for what it is I do now. And then you'd have to like create it on a model, and then you get assessed on like kind of the whole process. So they kind of taught you how to be designers, actually. Um, and it was very kind of self-led, like you had to kind of, you know, we would get guided quite a lot, but I think the course has changed quite significantly since then. The tutor that I had then has now left, and I think the course has evolved, if I'm not mistaken, to something slightly different. So I can't really speak about what it is like now, but that was like back in 2000, and I graduated in 2005. So that was a long time ago. It was great. I mean, like, you know, I don't regret a single thing about my journey. You know, that journey was something that I'm so grateful for, and I had so much support along the way. But I would say, if you were looking to study makeup now, I feel like it is not necessarily, you know, I don't think you necessarily need to do a 3 year degree in makeup to qualify in it. And also, this was very academic, so it was like, if you were always also interested in kind of the academic side of things and the design, then it was perfect for you. But if you were just looking at kind of being just like, you know, just doing makeup, and not the other kind of design stuff and the kind of really cerebral academic essay writing, then I would say it was probably better to do an HND course, which is like a 2 year course. Or you could do, and there's loads of places, like there's loads of places in the UK, but it depends where you are in the world. The other thing I would strongly recommend to you is that if you are going to learn makeup, I mean, I know this might not apply to our American friends, because I know in America, like, they have unions. So if you're a makeup artist, like, you're a makeup artist and you're part of that union. And if you want to go into something else, I believe you have to then apply for that. But I mean, certainly in the UK, the more skills you have, the better. So if you can do hair and makeup, or hair and wigs, or, you know, the more skills that you pick up, like wig making and hairstyling and a bit of makeup, like, obviously it's, you know, you will spend your whole life long trying to be proficient at everything. And I would say that, like, you know, I'm still need to develop my skills a lot in certain areas like prosthetics and like hair cutting. But I can absolutely, you know, after kind of now where I'm in my career, I could absolutely know how to design a wig, know how to make a wig, know how to dress and style hair in different periods, um, and know how to do makeup and all different periods of makeup. So that has really helped me, especially if you're working in theatre, which is predominantly actually hair and wigs. I strongly, strongly recommend that you learn more than one skill. It just helps you along the way, and it just kind of gives you that edge. And also, it just allows you just that little bit more control over a finished look. So, I mean, you know, again, I say it depends on what field you go into, but certainly in opera, we needed to have all of those skills for to get a full-time role in an opera house. So yeah, so that was my journey. So I did 3 years at London College of Fashion, and I graduated onto the foundation, and I'm using the new Urban Decay Naked Stay Naked Weightless Foundation in 30 CP and 20 CP, and I really like that foundation. Urban Decay are one of my sponsors, and they have been amazing in supporting me in my art, so I'm very grateful. What I did for my graduation was when you graduate from London College of Fashion, you have this final year exhibition, and I invited various pros from the makeup industry, and I was really interested in the ballet, and I invited this lady called Amelia Carrington, who was head of English National Ballet, head of makeup, wigs and makeup, and she came to my exhibition, and she saw my work, and I met her, and she offered me, I said, look, can I do some work experience with you? And she said yes. So I went and did work experience for her for 2 weeks, helping her dress out wigs for and prepare for a big tour. And you know, after those 2 weeks were up, she said, look, we're gonna need help, you know, this tour that is it was actually the tour of Sleeping Beauty, the ballet, and it was going on tour, and she was on maternity leave, and they needed an assistant. And so she said, why don't you interview for it? Um so I did. I interviewed for it, and the lady who was doing the maternity cover for Amelia, whose name is Becky, her name was Becky Jenkins back then, it's now Becky Rangan, and she's become a very good friend of mine. She was actually my first boss, and she hired me, and we went on tour for like 2 months, and it was probably some of the hardest work I've ever done. I think in the first couple of weeks, we worked 90 hours in 1 week. We had 85 wigs to dress and turn around. We had the full cast to do, just the two of us. And this was really common. Like, I think this is quite common in a lot of theatres. So yeah, it was really, really extreme. And we managed to reduce the hours by, you know, by kind of, we got quicker at doing the wigs, and we basically had a system where we would rotate the turnaround of the wigs, and it was hardcore like that. I mean, that's a lot of hours. I mean, hours aren't usually that long in theatre, but that was a really long time. Anyway, so we went on tour, we went all around the UK with Sleeping Beauty, and then we stopped off in London. That was our final stop, and we were going to do Sleeping Beauty and the Nutcracker in December. And I think this was like 2005, 2006. And so yeah, so we stopped there at the English National Opera, the London Coliseum, which is home to the English National Opera. And I, you know, was coming up to the end of my contract with the ballet, and I was thinking, what am I going to do next? And a job opportunity came up, and there was a full-time space available at the English National Opera, working with the opera. And I interviewed for that, and I got it. And then that was where I was basically going to build up my theatre career, and I ended up working there for 10 years, 11 years actually. And eventually went on to do every job in the department, and ended up managing it for 3 years. And that can be like a whole other video, is talking about my time at English National Opera. But that was a really amazing creative time for me. I mean, I really feel like If you ever want to really, really learn a lot, work in theatre, and especially work in opera, because when I was at the opera, we had this thing called seasons, and a season would be like it would span from like September all the way up until I think it was it April, May, I think. And in that time, we wouldn't just do, it's not like going to see a musical on Broadway or the West End, which is like the same music. Like if you go and see Wicked, the department that works in Wicked, they basically, it's the same show every single night, and they do like 8 or 9 performances in a week. And they have cast changes, which means that like, so they'll have like a different principal come in like after when another principal goes off to do something else, or they'll have like, you know, second cast come in and they do, but it's still the exact same design, and it's still like the same, or oftentimes a version of the same thing every single night. So your turnaround, so it's all about continuity and recreating the same look every time. Whereas in opera, in an opera house, what you have is, we have, I think it was like up to, I want to say 10 different productions in like a 9 month period. So it was basically every single month we would launch a new production. And for that one production, there would be like a maximum of 14 performances. So you can imagine there'd be like one production which had a cast of like 80, including chorus, dancers, everything. And it might have been set in like, I don't know, Egyptian times. And then you would have another show which was like, I don't know, maybe a cast of 25, and that would be like a modern show. And then one after that, which was like a cast of 50, and that was like Victorian. So it was constantly, we had 2 teams working full time, and it would be a case of constantly leapfrogging shows. So basically you'd get like, you'd be working in one theatre or sometimes 2 depending on which theatres, you know, because we also used to do shows outside of the English National Opera, and you would be constantly learning different periods, different techniques, and it was something different every time. So the amount of growth and the amount of stuff that you learn in a year in opera and working in an environment like that, I felt was almost like, because you're not only, you learn how to make wigs, you learn how to style the wigs, you did the makeup, you did the special effects, the prosthetics, the hairdressing, the colouring, you know, the knotting. It was like we were a one-stop shop. You did everything under one umbrella. So you can imagine the amount of growth and the amount of turnaround. And it was like there was never an opportunity to get bored, and the amount of like adaptability. So I'm just going to go off camera and finish cutting the crease with the gold, and I'll be right back. And I'm moving on to the prosthetic eye in the middle and just seeing how the acid rain responds to the prosthetic, the silicone. It's actually doing quite well. It is blending. The next question is how to get started. Now, I just told you my start and my journey, but I would have thought that this is probably applies to most of you wanting to do makeup within a certain field. And my biggest advice to you is, when you graduate from your course, from your university, wherever it is you have done your education, is that you find some work experience. And that doesn't, I don't mean just blanket send out CVs to every theatre or every film makeup designer, or every fashion makeup designer, or, you know, any theatre, you know, or anything, or any TV. Like, you have to, my best advice to you is to phone up and show face as much as possible, and to be persistent. The whole reason I got the opportunity that I did in theatre was because I did work experience, and I contacted somebody myself, and I invited somebody to my exhibition. I invited Amelia, the head of the department, and I made that contact, and I proved. And through work experience, that gives you an opportunity to get a foot in the door. It gives you an opportunity to be at the forefront of the mind of the person, you know, running the show. So that could be in the form of, you know, being a runner on a film, or you know, being an assistant on a film. And the thing is once you get your foot in the door and, you know, you're doing work experience, this is your opportunity to show that you're a team player, that you're able, that you're adaptable, that you work hard, that you're able to collaborate in a team, you know, that you are in control of your ego, that you are creative, that, you know, no job is like, you know, off, you know, is too difficult for you. And that is what managers and bosses and makeup designers, really, that's what they want to see. Like, whenever, you know, when I used to have work experience people come in from London College of Fashion and from many other places, it was all the ones that always stood out to me were the ones that had initiative, the ones who worked really hard, the ones who understood the culture of that particular environment, and, you know, who got along with everybody else and kind of who were liked by everybody else. So that is kind of super, super important. And once you kind of tick all those boxes and you prove yourself, you are kind of at the forefront of that manager, that designer, that makeup artist's mind. So what they will end up doing is they will end up calling you again. And if you're a good, oftentimes managers, makeup artists, lead makeup artists, designers will pick somebody based on, you know, their personality a lot of the times. Because, and yes, you know, skill does matter, but you can teach a lot of skill. It's much harder to teach somebody to have a good work ethic, or know how to keep their ego in check, or know how to use their initiative. So these things are super, super important. I'm going to tell you a story. So when I was managing at the English National Opera, I got a call from the stage door one day, and it was, must have been around, like, I don't know, maybe 5 p.m. or something, sort of towards the end of the day, and there wasn't much going on in the evening. And the stage door phoned me up and they said, "Oh, we've got someone at stage door for you." And I said, "Oh, I don't have any appointments." And they said, "No, it's, you know, somebody has showed up and, you know, they want to speak to you. Her name is Lucille." And I'll never forget Lucille. She showed up. Lucille is French. She's French Portuguese, and she had come over. I think she'd sent me loads of emails, but I just hadn't responded because my emails, I always had tons of emails, and, you know, as a manager, you prioritize the kind of most important ones, and you put like the kind of, you know, people sending their CVs, emails, you kind of just, like, depending on the time, it's all to do with time, you kind of just put it on the back burner. That's the honest truth. You know, if you're busy at the time and you've got the team that you have, you're not looking for work experience, you just kind of like skim over it. So she shows up at stage door, and, you know, she's just basically she's stepped off the Eurostar. She has physically come to the theatre from Paris and she had literally done this with every theatre. She'd gone to the National, she'd gone to the Royal Opera House, and she had come to the English National Opera. It's like her last place. And she literally stepped off with the, you know, with the mindset of, I'm just going to show up at these places, show them my work, show them what I can do, and hopefully maybe I can get some work. And that's what she did. And I said, "Well, look, I've got, you know, 15 minutes. Show me what you can do." So I sat her down, I gave her a block and a piece of lace, and she showed me her knotting, and she showed me the wigs that she had. And she was enthusiastic, she was passionate, she seemed really respectful, she seemed like she had a really good energy and a really good vibe about her. And to be honest with you, the thing that impressed me the most was her initiative, that she had actually come that far internationally to take the risk to literally show up knocking at doors. And that was unbelievable. And so, to be honest, on that alone, I was so impressed. We gave her work that very same week. So eventually she went on to get a contract, and she left, and she went on to do like other work and make wigs for films and work in other theatres, and she was absolutely amazing. I think she still works at E&O, and she was an incredible member of the team. She was there for several years. But yeah, she had the initiative and she did that. And, you know, as somebody who was leading a department, that was so, so impressive. So you have to be persistent, and it's all down to timing. You know, this is the truth. Why would somebody who, you know, probably doesn't have time to often have lunch, Why would they suddenly reply to a work experience email? Why would they reply to somebody sending a CV when they probably get hundreds of emails coming through about CVs? Why would you be any different? So it's about standing out. And it's about being memorable, and then it's about proving yourself and making yourself indispensable. So that really is my advice to you, and to be persistent and not to take it personally. Not that, you know, you've tried to email someone once and then they haven't replied, so you think they're not interested. They're probably just busy. And, you know, keep on emailing, phone up, show up if you can, like make an appointment if you can, speak to the PA, speak to someone who works with them, try to make contact, try to find your way in. And networking is a massive thing. So that is a huge piece of advice I would give anyone who's starting out. It's so important to make that contact and to prove yourself and to, show up and show what you can do. And it's, impress your future boss, and yeah, keep manifesting. So the first thing I'm going to be putting on is this amazing headdress by a designer called Object at Dawn, and these headdresses are what she calls modular. So you can actually move these pendants around, so they unclip and you can position them in like different places. So I actually moved, this one was down here, and I actually moved, this one was connected to this piece here, and I actually moved it up because I wanted them to be like either side of my face. And it's amazing. So this is kind of like, basically it's perfect because this kind of hides the parting. And I'm gonna have to touch up that tape there. And I do a lot of my, I try to cheat it a lot, and that is gonna go over the top and it's gonna finish the look. Please believe in yourself, because you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And many people before me, before us, have done it, and many people will do it after us. So just work hard. And although at times it might seem like maybe you're not getting anywhere, or things are difficult, or you're unsure of what's going to come along, just trust the universe, trust yourself, and just try to think positive, and try to make as many connections as you can and work as hard as you can. And I promise you that it will come along and you will manifest. And and also remember that success is many different things to many different people. And I really wish you all the very best, and I wish you all of the success. And if you guys have any other questions about career, or about how to get into makeup, or certainly my trajectory in makeup, do please leave me a comment down below. Let me know whether you enjoyed this, whether this was a useful tutorial. And I am going to be doing a lot more YouTube, a lot more conversational stuff. So please subscribe to my channel, and click the bell icon and the like, just to let me know that you've enjoyed this video. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let me know what you would like the next video to cover, and I will absolutely do another poll on my Instagram stories, just to get you guys to ask more questions that I can answer them in the next video. Thank you for coming this far, and I love you guys. Thank you for all your support. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing this full-time where I am now. So lots of love.